Guru Sri Juta Padakamalang.
Hare Krishna, welcome to our channel Bhagavad-gita. Here it is, because we have Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and my name is Labanga Latika. We are in the 8th chapter, Attaining the Supreme. That is what Bhagavad-gita can teach us, isn't it wonderful? I will read text 4. Adhibhutam ksharo bhava purushashchadhidaivatam adhiyagyoham evatra dehe deha bhritang vara. O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature, which is constantly changing, is called Adhibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods like those of the sun and moon, is called Adhidaiva, and I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the Supersoul in the heart of every embodied being, am called Adhiyagya, the Lord of Sacrifice. So here we are, we have Krishna responding to Arjuna's questions earlier in the chapter, because that is a spiritual discourse. We have a teacher, we have a student, but it's not a one-way communication, because the student's input in the form of question is just as important. It is actually impossible to teach someone who doesn't have an interest, enough interest to ask the question. So Arjuna has very important questions, so Krishna comes back with all this information. Purport. The physical nature is constantly changing. Material bodies generally pass through 6 stages. They are born, they grow, they remain for some duration, they produce some byproducts, they dwindle, and then they vanish. This physical nature is called Adhibhuta. It is created at a certain point and will be annihilated at a certain point. The conception of the universal form of the Supreme Lord, which includes all the demigods and their different planets, is called Adhidevata. And present in the body along with the individual soul is the Supersoul, a plenary representation of Lord Krishna. The Supersoul is called the Paramatma or Adhiyagya and is situated in the heart. The word Eva is particularly important in the context of this verse, because by this word the Lord stresses that the Paramatma is not different from him. The Supersoul, Supreme Personality of Godhead, seated beside the individual soul, is the witness of the individual soul's activities and is the source of the soul's various type of consciousness. Yes, so I'm just getting absorbed in this because it's so interesting. We learn about material bodies passing through 6 stages, which are also the symptom of life, because if the material body, the component is the most important, is the presence of the spirit soul. If the soul is not present, these 6 stages, they do not take place. But when the soul is trapped in a material body, these stages take place, because the soul in and of itself doesn't dwindle and die, it's just the body. So we can tell if there is life by these stages being present. The birth, the growth, remaining, staying for some time, producing byproducts like children, for instance. Dwindling, we peak, and then our energies go down, and then we vanish, we die. We don't die, but the body dies. And then we hear of the universal form, which is Krishna manifesting this universe, because it all comes from him, which is actually the most important thing about it, when you think about it. And then we hear about Supersoul, who is present in our body alongside ourselves, and Krishna stresses that Supersoul is non-different from Krishna. And he's witnessing our activities. Prabhupada, when he grew up, then India was a colony of the British, and he went to a British school, and the teacher there at some point was making fun of the concept of karma, because he said, if the living entity does some activity, how can he get a result? Who is there to see it? And Prabhupada, because the culture is such that you don't argue with your teacher, so he didn't say anything. But it's very clear to anyone who has even the slightest knowledge of the Bhagavad-gita that Supersoul sees it. Supersoul is in our hearts. And he's witnessing everything, and he's also allowing us to receive the reactions to our karmas, and he's allowing us to remember our desires, because, without that help, we wouldn't be even able to remember our own desires. He is the source of the soul's various types of consciousness. The Supersoul gives the individual soul an opportunity to act freely and witnesses his activities. The functions of all these different manifestations of the Supreme Lord automatically become clarified for the pure Krishna conscious devotee engaged in transcendental service to the Lord. The gigantic universal form of the Lord, called Adidevata, is contemplated by the neophyte who cannot approach the Supreme Lord in his manifestation as Supersoul. The neophyte is advised to contemplate the universal form of Virat Purusha, whose legs are considered the lower planets, whose eyes are considered the sun and moon, and whose head is considered the upper planetary system. Yes. So that is also an idea we come back to. It is clear it's clear within any system that you start out as a beginner and then you build your expertise or your knowledge so that you're able to approach a higher level. That is true for mostly any discipline. And spiritual life in the Vedic concept means that there is a level for everyone. We can all start somewhere. So if we're unable to see Krishna as a person, we can see this external manifestation of this world. Arjuna will later request Krishna to show his universal form, and it will be described. It will be very impressive and very scary. And Arjuna asks to come back to see Krishna as he is. So the ultimate perfection is this spontaneous love for Krishna, and that love actually forces him to show himself. He cannot resist that sort of love. But when we don't have that love, which is not an unusual situation in this material world, because we're so distracted by everything else and we have so many other desires and concepts and memories and identifications. And Krishna has given us not just one process, but a level of process that fits for everybody. And the understanding of Supersoul, even if we are not practicing dhyana yoga, we don't aim exactly at practicing our meditation and withdrawing our consciousness to the level where we are able to see Supersoul in the heart, because we have given up the direction going out through our senses. That is not our process. But it's still, by realizing Krishna, we will automatically realize Supersoul. But by studying the Bhagavad-gita and understanding the concept of how Supersoul is present in our heart, how, Krishna will say that also in Bhagavad-gita, remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge comes from him. So we are so dependent on Krishna, and that's all right, because Krishna will look after us. We don't have to fear that, but we can understand it more and more, how this existence is a manifestation of Krishna's energies, how our bodies are a manifestation of Krishna's energies, how our ability to connect to the body, relate to the senses, remember even who we are, what our senses are. Like we have all experienced being in a dream and being in a totally different situation, and then we wake up and like, in the dream we didn't remember our family, we didn't remember our children. We had a totally different situation, and then we wake up and how could I forget that? How can I forget all these things? And this is just a dream overnight. So, but in this daily existence, we do remember things, and then sometimes we forget them and we can't do anything about it. We can't find it. We know I forgot it. We can't find it. So that is Supersoul, connecting us with our own desires, with our own activities, with our own identification. It was interesting. It was expressed, and I don't remember having read this exact expression. Supersoul, seated beside the individual soul, is the witness of the individual soul's activities and the source of the soul's various types of consciousness. So we have the desire to be here. We can't do very much more than that. Then we are connected to a body that has senses that move mechanically, and Supersoul is in our heart, witnessing our activities and reminding us of our desires and of our level of consciousness in that specific body. It's quite fascinating, actually. Next verse will be a powerful spiritual promise, and we will come back to that next week. We have new episodes up every Tuesday and Friday, almost all the time. I have some links below, specifically if you want to find the earlier chapters. I made playlists for all of them, and there is eminent room for questions and comments in the comment field below. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.